There was a shoebox hidden in the back of her closet, behind her winter coats, buried under things she never threw away. I almost walked right past it. What was inside, 44 years worth of a secret, changed everything I thought I knew about my wife, about our marriage, about myself. My name is Harold, 85 years old, born and raised in Minnesota.
Spent 38 years at the same manufacturing plant. Raised 2 boys, buried a wife. By most people's measure, I was a decent man. What I didn't know, what that shoebox proved to me, is that decent and present are 2 very different things. Eleanor knew the difference every single day for 44 years. She just never told me. 3 years after Eleanor passed, her sister Margaret talked me into finally going through the closet. I'd been putting it off. Shoot, I'd been putting off a lot of things. That house still felt like hers, her glasses still on the nightstand, her coffee mug still on the second shelf right side, exactly where she always kept it. Moving her things felt like losing her all over again. We worked through the closet. Winter coats, old shoe boxes, a dress she'd saved from 1971. Still had the tags on it. And then, way in the back, behind everything, one more shoebox. Brown, faded stripe, beat up around the edges. Margaret picked it up, said, "This one yours?" I didn't recognize it. I almost told her to just set it aside. Inside were notes, hundreds of them, little folded pieces of paper, old napkins, torn corners of envelopes, notebook paper folded into quarters. Every one folded, and every one had a number written on the outside in Eleanor's handwriting. I sat down right there on that closet floor, and shoot, I didn't know whether to cry or scream or just sit there like a complete fool. My mind started racing. What was this? Why had she hidden it? Had she been unhappy this whole time and never told me? Was this her way of keeping track of every single mistake I made over 44 years? I tell you what, my hands were shaking something awful, because right then, everything I thought I knew about my marriage started looking completely different. Y'all gotta understand something about Eleanor and me first.
Eleanor and I met in 1974. Little diner on Route 9. She was working the counter, red apron, pen tucked behind her ear. I walked in for coffee. Didn't leave for 3 hours. She had this way of making you say things you didn't plan on saying. Didn't push, didn't pry, just listened. Really listened. Like what you were saying actually mattered. I wasn't used to that. We got married June 7th, 1975. Small ceremony. Her mama cried through the whole thing. My daddy shook my hand at the end. That was about as much affection as that man ever gave. First years we were broke. Little house on Maple Street, porch falling apart. But we'd sit out there every evening and just talk about everything, about nothing. I was a different man back then. More open, more there. Then I got promoted at the plant, then promoted again, and somewhere between the overtime and the deadlines and the trying to be somebody, I stopped sitting on that porch. Eleanor had her own stubborn streak. Lord knows she wasn't perfect. When something was bothering her, she'd go quiet for days instead of just saying it. Drove me half crazy.
I'd ask what was wrong. She'd say nothing. It was never nothing. But she never complained about me working, never made me feel small. Every night before bed, she'd say it. "I love you, Harold."
And I'd say, "I know," every single time, for 44 years. Now y'all are probably thinking, what kind of jackass is I know to his wife for 44 years straight? I reckon I was that jackass. I grew up in a house where nobody said those words. You worked hard, you provided, you kept the lights on. That was supposed to be love enough, so that's what I did. Our boys grew up, I barely remember it. Not the way a father should. I was there physically, but one foot was always out the door. Eleanor carried it all of it. Every school event, every sick night, every hard conversation with the boys that I should have been part of.
And she never made me feel like a deadbeat. She covered for me. Told the boys Daddy was tired. Daddy worked hard. Daddy loves you. He just shows it different. She was protecting me from my own absence. There were times she'd reach for my hand, in the car, at church, on the couch, and I'd let her take it, but I wouldn't reach back. Not with any intention, just let my hand sit there, like a stone. She had this small scar on her left thumb from a cannon accident back in '82 when we were young. I used to trace it absently, like it was mine too. Somewhere along the way, I stopped doing that. 40 years went by like that. Good life on paper. House paid off, kids turned out all right. And every single night, "I love you, Harold. I know." What I didn't know, what I couldn't have imagined, was that Eleanor wasn't just saying those words and moving on. Every night, before she closed her eyes, while I was already out cold, that woman was writing it down. Back on that closet floor, I started opening notes one by one. Day 1, I love him.